So I'm glad that this is on TOF platform, and this is one of the most beautiful parks to be pitched actually for both visitors as well as conservationists across the world. It's quite unique, and this is what this whole talk is about the Satpura. And what makes it unique, the very destination of it itself. So if you try and look up on Google Maps where Forsyth Lodge or Satpura is, in fact, so this is bang in the center, it's heart of the country, that's where Satpura is. So it's almost equidistant to most of the important cities where flights are connecting, like New Delhi, Ahmedabad, it could be from Hyderabad, even Bangalore and Kolkata. So this, so on a globe, if you're trying to show India, so most likely your index finger is putting at the spot where Satpura is. So that's the importance of this national park. And let's see what it, oh, it's zoomed out. All right. Yeah, is this better? Yeah. So this is the Madhya Pradesh map. So it's again centralmost part of the central India here. So it almost, the Satpura National Park fits almost like a rectangle in Madhya Pradesh, covering about 3 different areas. One is the Bori Wildlife Sanctuary, then the Satpura National Park, then there is Pachmari Wildlife Sanctuary. So all put together, the whole biosphere, in fact, which is called the Pachmari Biosphere, is close to 4,500 square kilometers and still counting. But the actual whole protected area is over 1,400 square kilometers. So it's quite a huge park compared to a few other parks connected to Madhya Pradesh Tiger Corridor, which we call, right, from Panna, Bandhavgarh, Kanha, Pench, and Satpura. So you can see its proximity to the capital, and again, Nagpur is another proximity. So let's take a closer look at Satpura itself. So like you said, you can just imagine a rectangular map. So the northern part of rectangle is where the national park is and its entrance, which we call Madai, where the red dot is. So most of the lodges right now which are concentrated here. And the much older the tourism aspect than this was in Pachmadi. Pachmadi has been known for both tourism as a summer palace or as a hill station ever since 1850s. Since then, and also for a lot of timber extract, especially the poor graded sal and teak, and also very good quality of bamboo and sal in Bori. So this has been exploited for its resources ever since, and also enjoyed its summer retreat for its cool weather. So the new entrance gate, which has just recently started early, and there's another group called Cheetal. So they have started out in another southern part, southwestern region, so which accesses again through buffer, and then you come into the Bori Wildlife Sanctuary core area. So Surna is almost like a midpoint from both the gates. So you come in about 45 kilometers from the north or about another 45 from the south. So this is a beautiful park having different kinds of habitats. And why is that? And that's because of the altitude. So the highest point here is about 1350 meters above sea level. And that varies down almost towards 400 meters above sea level, where we are at northern part in Madai region. So this area, this landscape is very dense with sal forest, and surprisingly, sal here is like an island. It's surrounded by deciduous forest mixed with teak and several other species of trees and herbs. And this unique height variation gives excellent species diversity, especially in plants. And with that comes the diversity in butterflies, then the birds, so on. So this is, as you come, graduate further south towards, further towards north, you will see about 400 odd square meters above sea level. And there you'll see a mixture of deciduous tree line. And a lot of rivers feed this forest, all pouring out to Narmada River. So these rivers in turn, most are perennial rivers. So these rivers actually create amazing habitat. And these habitat, very few habitat, if you see these landscape, very few habitat are suitable for tigers. A big cat, which is over close to 200 kilograms or more. So it's quite hard to go up this sandstone mountains. So one of the ideal animal that fits in here are leopards, sloth bears especially because of the diversity of trees in this altitude. But wherever the perennial stream sources are, that's going to be permanent territories of big cats like tigers. And the other unique part of Satpura is because of this diversity, there is diversity of species. Some species are endemic. On the top left that you see is a Satpura leopard gecko, which is found nowhere else in the world. Probably now, recently, after it's brought to light, people are trying to discover around central India. We often get news from Ali or Erwin that they have seen a leopard gecko in their lodge. Sometimes we see it here in our lodge. So geckos, this is something exciting because it's one of the most beautiful geckos. It was much famous because of the pet trade though. But we are so glad that we find them here and it's endemic and nobody knows about it safely. Then there are other plant species like these. This is called a piper vine. Then there is a lantern flower climber. These are usually found either in the foothills of Himalayas or the Western Ghats. And then there is also the strobilanthes, which is pretty famous. The kurunji, which I think a couple of years ago, there was a mass blooming in Nilgiris. So we have another species called Strobilanthes calusa, which actually this year is at peak flowering, which is about 80% of the plants have been flowering. Again, not as mass flowering as you find in the Nilgiris. So these plants give excellent diversity. With that comes also certain butterflies. Few butterfly species have been described from here to be an endemic subspecies also. Then you find one of the rare birds like black-crested bulbuls. So another closest relative of these birds are in the Himalayas. So what I mean to say with this slide is that Satpura, the highland that rises in central India, it is like a bridge between the Himalayas and the southwest, the Western Ghats and other rainforests. So this bridge gives excellent break for both the species to mingle here. This is the convergence. So this is probably where you mark the northern region and the southern Deccan. So this is where the blend happens. You find jungle fowls, which are both gray jungle fowl, and there are a few records of red jungle fowls, which is again found in east as well as other parts, little south from here in Pench. So that's another unique. So Satpura suddenly pops out to bring you gray jungle fowl, which is more often found in southern India. So these are unique things that these signals give us that it is a habitat which is very, very important to understand how the bridge between the Himalayas and the rest of the land is. Another special thing, relocation. Relocation is there almost in every park now you hear, but Satpura, I must say, is proudly one of the largest and most successful relocation programs that have ever happened in the world. And close to 50 or almost 52 villages have been relocated, both from the core of the national park as well as the buffer. And by doing so, if you see wherever humans, we take the place, we often take away the place which are prime, which are rich with water sources especially. That's the primary factor. Then which has good soil factor, which can grow and yield excellent grasslands or tree species, which are prey species. So tigers come back. So this is what about close to 10,400 hectares have been brought back to the park in the last 10 to 12 years. And relocation is still on the process with another 12 odd villages, including all buffer, everything. Inside the core reserve, there's just one village to be relocated, and which is most likely to happen by end of this year. So this is one of the largest and successful relocation because of the both political will, people's will, and the forest department's effort throughout this. So what's the key success is post-relocation. That's what the forest department is really skilled with right now here. So this is what they've learned here. So once relocated, how do you make the other villages say that, okay, this is not bad. So they have empowered so many people, quite a few staff. At least within Satpura, all the lodges, Renipaniyas, the Denwa, then in Pachmadi also, everybody have made it a point, almost like a law, it's unsaid law. Nearly 80% of our staff are from the local community, and most are from the community itself. So collectively we group together and we train these boys. So Jahanuma helps them in dining and the housekeeping setups, and we help them in the hospitality, and if they're interested to become guides, so they also get those training as well. So that is one of the beautiful setup. It's very convenient as a naturalist to work, because for us as a naturalist to understand nature, community is the key part of it, because conservation is always about the people. And this is one of the best models that has worked well in Satpura. And another successful relocation of wildlife is the Barasingha that you see in the bottom right here. So apart from Kanha, the hard ground Barasingha is also now found in Satpura after relocation. Close to about 65 of them are almost freely moving outside the protected areas now. These grasslands have been converted into grassland which are favorable for Barasinghas. So other uniqueness of Satpura, I don't know, it is, I'm so sad almost, because I've just got 20 minutes. Satpura has got like 2 to 3 days of stories. So let's see how much we can just fit in. These experiences for visitors. So this is one of the few reserves, tiger reserves, which allows people to walk. And when you walk, you actually are in the pace of nature. And this is when you absorb a lot. A few in Kerala, a few in the northeast like Namdapha, and in central India where tiger numbers are pretty high and other predators, Satpura is probably one of the only reserve that allows you to walk. And this is when you actually understand tigers well instead of chasing the animals behind. And we have one day walk, short walks for about 5 hours as a safari in the core zone. Also in the buffer, we do extensive walks. And this gives us a lot of learning. And this is one of the most beautiful experiences for both naturalists and guests. And in the last 11 years, another non-polluting means of experiencing forest is this canoe trip also. One is that it allows you to get a bit closer to bird life, which are very, very rare, some of them, like on the right, the curlew sandpiper, which is one of the rare birds that have been seen here. Skimmers, which have been regularly nesting, because these canoeists were ex-fishermen, and now they are themselves canoe guides, and also they are involved in protection of the seasonal mud flats that open as and when the dam water rise and recede. So these are one of the very interesting models that have worked out well for Satpura, with especially good naturalists who've been working together, and excellent forest officers like R.P. Singh, Anil Nagar, and so on. So many officers have been here trying to get the best of the best practices which can be implemented here. And good so far that the tiger numbers until this point were pretty low, that we could experiment and do all these things and make it watertight, this model. And it's now about 12 years on the run, and it's working brilliantly. So another beautiful experience and unique is the camping. So camping, there are defined campsites which are allowed by the forest department, where they man them and also scrutinize how well we manage this. And of course, they don't need to, because everyone are self-aware about how we do this. And this is one of the beautiful experiences, because you don't have to get outside the national park. You're inside the reserve, you experience firsthand. There is absolutely no motorized sound. There is no generators. So it's just stunning. You're right by the breath of a tiger, just separated by canvas. So it's amazing. So we've seen often pug marks just on the banks next morning when we wake up. It's beautiful. So this is one of the few unique experiences which usually Africa boasts of. And this is something Satpura can also. So apart from that, the few motorized experiences, again, in this, there is a limitation. There are very few vehicles allowed to use this motorized experience. So there are limited number of jeeps, just about 18 jeeps are allowed inside the reserve, and that too are managed by the forest department, which again employs a driver, so it gives maximum empowerment to the locals again. So the experiences, again, if you see here, the bears are one of the primary cake of the Satpura charm. So tigers are there. It's no doubt that we don't see them also. We have excellent sightings in the recent years due to all the relocation efforts. But sloth bears is still one of our favorites. And I'm sure many of us agree here who are operating this. There are bear safaris around the world, around the polar bears, around the grizzlies. So why not sloth bear? So this would be the sloth bear destination for the world. So many guests also enjoy this experience, a bit relaxed, not chasing around one particular mammal, absorbing nature as it comes. So then we have another motorized experience for people who just want to scale up a little more of the river, the reservoir actually, and catch up the quick animals like crocodiles. So Satpura diversity-wise, like I've been saying, from the plants, it's got one of the greatest diversity in central India, which gives a good diversity of butterflies. We've been doing surveys of butterflies every year, and we've got over 150 odd species and still counting. Then we have birds, close to 300 species, and mammals. Apart from what you see, there are several antelopes that we see both outside and inside, like a few black bucks I haven't included here. Four-horn antelope, chausinga, which is one of the uncommon antelopes that we see often. But Satpura for guests has been the favorite in the last 5 odd years I've been guiding here. I see Satpura when people come down after experiencing and jumping around in every other reserve. Here they really sleep down, relax, just like this baby bear, and absorb everything in the pace they would want to. Thanks.